Skill Development Playbook, Season 3, Episode 4. Let's drop some knowledge. Welcome everybody to the Skill Development Playbook Podcast. I am your host, Coach TJ, and I have a really good topic for everybody that's out there listening today. This is something I really want to get into. Actually, I want to talk about what I feel like is the most undertaught or the most neglected skill in skill development, and that is passing. I truly feel that passing is a skill or a technique that is often overlooked in skill development. I know we have a lot of one-on-one sessions and we have group sessions, and passing is just one of those things that is often, just kind of bypassed, kind of thrown to the side. We don't really spend a whole lot of time on teaching passing, or we don't spend a lot of time on emphasizing the importance of passing. So I want to talk about passing, and I have a lot of information. I'm going to try to go through this as detailed as possible, but also at the same time, I don't want to be too long-winded. So real quick, we're going to talk about 5 different passing windows that players should know. We're going to talk about 5 keys to passing, 6 passes every player should master, and then I'm going to finish up with some tips that I have for the players. So let's jump right in. Let's get it started. So 5 passing windows. And when we're talking about passing windows, we're talking about when you're being defended. If you have the basketball and you're being defended, and that defensive player is in a good wide defensive stance, and they got their feet wide, they got their hands up. And then what you want to do is you want to be able to locate 5 windows that you can pass through against that defender. And those passes, or those 5 windows, will be the left hip or the right hip, which means you will make a bounce pass. Then you have the left and right shoulder, which means it will be a push pass or an air pass. And then you have right over the top of their head, which will be another air pass or push pass. But I think when you are being defended, and you have the basketball and you are being defended, those are the windows that you want to look for. You want to look for either shoulder, left or right shoulder, over the top of their head, or the left or right hip. If you can make a pass through one of those passing windows, then you increase your chances of making a successful pass. So again, those 5 passing windows: left, right hip, left, right shoulder, over the top of the head. And we'll get into the type of passes that you can make. But the hips are bounce passes, the shoulders and over the top of the head are air passes. Okay, so now let's talk about 5 keys to passing. And there could be a number of different keys. I mean, if I sat down and try to think of everything, we probably can come up with 20 or more keys to passing. But these are 5 keys that I use, that I feel like that can help any player be successful. These are 5 keys that I really stress when it comes to passing. Number one of 5 keys to passing. You want your players, coaches out there that's listening, you want your players to be successful from fingertip to fingertip. So what I mean by that is, if a player outstretches their arms, they want to be good from one fingertip all the way to the other fingertip. So they want whatever they are able to do with their right hand. If they're right-handed, if they're right hand dominant, whatever they do with their right hand, they want to be able to do with their left hand. So you want to be able to not only dribble and shoot or finish with your right and left hand, you also want to have the ability to pass with your right and left hand. It makes it very difficult if you're dribbling to your left. And we have the old thinking of ball me defender. If I'm dribbling to my left, if I'm attacking the rim with my left hand, I have a defender attached to me on my right side. And then I have to pick that ball up and pass with my right hand. that gives the defender an opportunity to deflect the pass. It gives the defender an opportunity to get into my body and maybe not make it. And that pass, I may be able to make the pass, but it may not be as accurate. So we want to be able to pass with that left hand just as well as we can with our right hand. So we want to be good fingertip to fingertip. All right, the second key to passing is passing versus pressure. We have to be able to pass versus pressure. Now, we know when we're teaching passing, there are going to be times when we are not being guarded, we're not being defended. We could pass to a partner, we could pass to a coach, or we could pass up against the wall. But once a defender gets in our airspace, we have to be able to pass against pressure. And to do that, to be able to pass against pressure, we have to be able to pivot. We have to be able to pivot. So, coaches, it's important. Players, it's important for you to learn how to pivot against pressure. Because here's what I tell players. If I'm playing defense and I'm pressuring you, the pressure point is going to be from fingertip to fingertip. So if I can keep you within my hands, within my arms, within my feet, then I'm keeping that pressure with, inside of my bubble. But as an offensive player, I want to break that pressure. So I want to get outside of their pressure points. So I want to get outside of their outreached hands. I want to get outside of their feet. So if I can get outside of that pressure by pivoting, then I'm able to make my passes against pressure. Okay. Number 3. Now, I know the game has changed a whole lot. It's not played like it was 20, 25 years ago, but still we have to be able to pass the ball into the post. Okay. The number 3 key when it comes to passing is passing into the post. Now, here's what I tell players. Number 1, you have to fake a pass to make a pass. So I'm going to fake high, go low. I'm going to fake low, go high. And I'm doing that because of the defender that's guarding me. So if I fake high, maybe they reach up, I'm able to drop a bounce pass. If I fake low, maybe they go for a deflection, or maybe they try to kick at the basketball. I can throw it up high and be able to throw it into my post player. So we have to be able to fake a pass to make a pass. The second thing with passing into the post is, how's that post player being guarded? How's their defense defending him? Is it a full frontal? Okay. Sometimes they have a full frontal because they don't want that post player to catch the ball because of their ability to be able to score and draw fouls on the post. Sometimes it's a 3/4 front. Sometimes they just going to play behind them. But how are they being defended? If it is a full frontal denial, then we have to not only look at their defender, but we have to look at the backside defender. So where is the backside or the help defender coming from? So all these type of things we have to be able to recognize and be able to break down and understand within a matter of, seconds, and I'm not talking about 2, 3, I'm not talking about 3, 4, 5 seconds. I'm talking about within a matter of just like 1 or 2 seconds. Oh, it's a frontal. They got backside help. I can't throw it. We got to swing the ball. Hopefully he can keep him pinned and he can catch it on the swing. So you have to fake a pass to make a pass. How's your teammate being guarded? Is it a full frontal? If they are being fronted, full frontal, where's the backside help coming from? Also with this, I don't have this written down, but their position. So if they're being fronted and that player, can your post player push them up the lane to be able to catch that lob on the backside if there's no backside help? So that's important also. And then the last thing we're passing into the post is the player that has the ball, are they at a good angle to enter the pass into the post? I see this all the time. There are post players that are posted up on the block, and they're posted up to receive a pass from the wing. But the player with the ball is actually in the slot, which is the area between the top of the key and the wing, which I consider the wing, the free throw line extended outside of 3-point line. So they're in between that area, which at the NBA level and even sometimes at the college, they call that the slot. So they're in that slot area, and they're trying to throw that pass into the post. Well, you don't have a good enough angle to make that pass, so you need to either dribble down to be able to make that entry pass into the post, or you have to wait until that post player shows you their chest, shows you their numbers, and then that pass can be made into the post. So you have to know the angle that you're in. Are you at a good enough angle to make the pass into the post? Okay. All right. So back to the 5 keys of passing. Number 4, use your feet. I just talked about this when passing against pressure. And you see this a lot with younger players that are learning how to pass for the first time. They use all upper body. They don't want to step. They don't want to move their feet. But they have to understand how to pass and step towards the person that's receiving the pass. If you're passing with your right hand, you can step with your right foot. But you can also pass with your right hand and step with your left foot. So you want them to be able to step and pivot and move with either foot. You don't want their feet you don't want your players to have to really think about their feet. I tell players all the time, I want your feet to have a mind of their own, where you don't have to worry about them. They know what to do based on the situation that you're in. So they have to use their feet. Short steps to the right hand push pass, short step with the left foot, left hand push pass. So you have to be able to incorporate your feet. And then number 5, with the 5 keys of passing, understand who you are passing to. That is important. That is huge. Who are you passing to? You have to understand, excuse me, you have to understand who you are passing to. What passes can they catch? Are they good at catching chest passes or push passes, I should say? Are they good at catching bounce passes? Do you have to make a perfect pass for them to be able to catch the ball? Can they catch in traffic? And this is really, really big this is really important for bigs that play in traffic areas. If you're passing the ball and they're cutting, can they catch the ball in traffic? Can they catch the ball being guarded? So you have to understand what passes to make. Do I need to make an air pass? Do I need to make a bounce pass? Do I need to make a lob? And then something else that's really important about passing with this particular pass, when you're talking about understanding who you are passing to, will the pass that I make put them in a position to be successful? And that is huge. Will the pass I make put my teammate that's receiving the pass in a position to be successful? So here's what I mean. I'm not a real tall guy. I'm anywhere, depending on the day, I'm anywhere about 5'10" to 5'11". Sometimes I tell people I'm 6 feet tall. That's a little stretch. I'm stretching it a little bit with that. But I'm roughly about 5'11", 6 foot. So if I'm cutting to the basket and a teammate throws the ball to me, but there's a guy waiting underneath the basket that's 6'11", 6'10", 6'11", great athlete. If he throws me the ball and I'm going up to finish, I might either get my shot blocked or that defender may alter my shot where I can't or decrease my chances of finishing at the rim. So it's not that you don't want to make passes to players that's cutting to the basket, but sometimes you have to think or understand, am I putting them in a position to be successful? So here's another example. Let's say you're playing against a team that likes to trap in the corner. They're in the half-court zone. And then anytime the ball goes into the corner, they're going to trap. I may have a teammate that, and in your offense, you may have somebody running the baseline. So if that player is running the baseline and I throw it to them and they're going to get trapped, I may not want to throw it to them every time they run to the corner because they're getting trapped, if we're not getting something successful out of that. So when I throw the pass to someone, am I putting them in a position to be successful? Am I putting them in a position to be able to make a play? So we have to understand that, because just because I pass the ball to somebody, I may put them in a tough situation. Perfect example, when I was in high school, we were told, don't throw the ball to the big or to the post player until they're ready to catch and shoot or catch and go into a layup. If I was dribbling the ball down the court and let's say my big was at half court and I could throw it to him, and if he had to catch it and take even 2 dribbles, I would get fussed at because my coach would say, I don't want that. He don't need to be dribbling. He just needs to be able to catch the ball and go up and finish. So 20 plus years ago, I wasn't putting him in a certain position to be successful, but because now it is required of him to dribble the basketball. And I know that's different today, but those are some of the things you want to think about. So you may have a player that's running the wing that's open, but you may want to take a couple of more dribbles until you pass it to them, so when they catch, they can just finish or shoot or be in a position to where they can be successful. So and I'm going to give you a bonus. I'm going to give you one more. It's a bonus, but those are my 5 keys. Again, let me go over those again with you. Number 1, you want to be good fingertip to fingertip, meaning whatever I do with my right hand, I want to be able to do with my left. I want to be able to pass versus pressure, which includes being able to pivot. I want to be able to pass into the post, fake a pass to make a pass. How is the teammate guarded? If it's a full frontal, do they have backside help? And then I want to be able to understand the angle that I'm at. Am I able to pass the ball into the post from my angle? Number 4, you got to be able to use your feet. Step with your right foot, step with your left foot. You want to always step towards your receiver and understand who you are passing to, putting them in a position to be successful when they catch the ball. Understanding, can they catch in traffic? Are there certain passes they have to be able to, that they can only catch? So those are some things that's really important. And then the bonus is on time, on target. On time, on target. Shooting is so much about rhythm. You know, and I'm sure all of us that's listening to this at some point, you've heard a podcast or you've heard, you've watched a YouTube video or you watched the NBA on ESPN or you watch some type of college game and you hear people talk about, man, that shooter was in a great rhythm. And when they're in a great rhythm, they got it going. We want to continue to feed them. And when I say a rhythm, I mean, if a player comes off of a screen and we throw them a ball, we throw them a good ball, we throw it on time, we throw it in to where they can catch it and come up in one smooth motion and raise up and shoot it. So we want to make on time, on target passes. So that's a bonus. And I could have just made it 6, but you know that is a good one to have also. So that's a little bonus with my 5 keys to passing. Plus, it gave you a little bonus. So now, this time, let's move into 6 passes. Okay, 6 passes every player should master. And I'm saying this, and I always feel like, as a coach, I never look at a player and say, okay, you're not old enough to be able to perform this skill. Whenever I work with players, everything is based on that player. I've had kids in the past that was in 5th, 6th grade that was very skilled, and they could work out with any high school or college player. Because when we worked on different things, we worked on skills, whether it's a certain dribble move or passing with the left hand or certain types of finishes. If I lined up college players, they wouldn't hold up that training session because they could jump right in and do the same things with them. So these 6 passes, they are nothing fancy. It's just they're basic fundamental passes. But I think what makes these passes sometimes a little more advanced is the person with the pass being able to understand when to use them and how to use them, and then being able to use it with either hand. Okay, so number 1 of the most fundamental passes you got to be able to learn or master is just a bounce pass. Okay, I mean, this isn't rocket science. I don't have anything that is, just new. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here, but you got to be able to make a bounce pass. Some coaches are not real fond of bounce passes, but I love bounce passes. But I do think it has a place for it in the game, so you have to be able to make bounce passes. Number 2 is a push pass. Right hand, left hand push pass. Not a chest pass. Not a chest pass. Now I'm going to talk about chest passes here in a minute. But not a chest pass, but a push pass. Right-handed, left-handed push pass, I think is a fundamental pass that you have to learn. And a lot of players want to pass the ball with two hands, but I'm talking about you got two hands on the ball, but you're going to make a right-handed push pass and a left-handed push pass. All right, the third pass, an over-the-shoulder hook pass. An over-the-shoulder hook pass. So what I mean by that is that type of pass is good when you're driving, you're penetrating. Maybe if you're driving baseline, you're going to throw that pass over the shoulder. And there is some technique to that. I'm not going to really get into techniques on how to make these passes. But one thing that you do want to look for with the hook pass is when players are learning how to make this pass for the first time, they usually will pick the ball up down below their waist with their hand underneath the ball and their arm will be extended. And then they'll come up in one motion and the pass will loop. And it's not like a straight line pass. But we'll get into a little bit of that here a little later on in the show. But they want to be able to make a hook pass. Number 4, a two-hand over-the-head pass. Now, when I say this, I'm not talking about a player getting the ball and then holding the ball above their head, and just standing in a stationary position. That's not what I'm talking about. But there are going to be instances in the game when you have the ball and a player is going to cut and you can't make a bounce pass because of how the defender may be guarding you or how they're trying to use their hands. So you may have to get the ball up real quick and make an overhead two-handed pass to somebody cut into the basket in some of those instances. Number 5 is a lob pass. Now, when I say a lob pass, that does not mean that I am throwing a lob for a dunk. That does not mean that I'm throwing a lob for a player to catch in the air and then finish. It's going to depend on the level that we're talking about. Are we talking about, 5th, 6th grade? I don't know any 5th, 6th graders that could dunk. There may be some out there. I haven't seen it yet. But just a minute ago, we were talking about having a front on a post. We have to be able to lob the ball over the top. Sometimes it's better when we're driving to throw a lob up to a bigger player that can catch it, come down, and then go back up and finish versus throwing them a bounce pass or air pass in traffic. Sometimes you just have to throw it up, let them get it, and then go back up and finish the shot. And then the last one, this is one that I was told to never make as a youth. Even today, players are told not to do it, but it is a jump pass. I think, and all this is relative to your situation. Don't take it out of context, but it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I think if a player jumps and then looks for a solution, then tries to figure out who they're going to pass to, that's when you're going to get yourself in trouble. But if you need to make a pass across court and you jump to make that pass, I think that is different. Now, again, we're looking at 6 passes here: a bounce pass, a push pass, over the head or a shoulder, or over the shoulder, a hook pass, a two-hand over the head pass, a lob pass, and a jump pass. Notice I did not say a chest pass. I think that it's okay for a player to learn and understand a chest pass, but the chest pass is a pass that is not used that often in the game of basketball. The game is so much more dynamic now than it used to be. Teams pressure so much more. The game is played at a much faster pace that you don't really use a chest pass as often. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not ever going to use a chest pass, but you see more lob passes now, and you're not going to use the hook pass a whole lot. But I think that's a pass that you've got to be able to make, especially if you're working with guards that are going to penetrate a lot. They have to be able to make different types of passes with either hand. And sometimes when they're driving and you have a defender attached to your hip, you're going to have to be able to get that ball up and over to a player on the weak side, and that may be your only solution. So what I tell players is with passing, with footwork, with scoring moves, and with shooting, I want to give players tools to put on their tool belt. And then when they're in a situation, they can go to that tool belt and say, okay, this is what I need for this situation. Okay. You're not going to use a hammer when you need a screwdriver. I mean, that's just how it is. You're not going to use a chest pass when you're being pressured when you need to use a push pass. Okay. All right. So those are the 6 passes every player should master. Now, I want to give you one more. And I think that you don't see it a whole lot. When I was a kid, people said it was a playground pass, and that's a behind the back pass. You know, I think I probably made in my whole career maybe a handful of behind the back passes. But I think if we give players the opportunity to work on a behind the back pass, give them that freedom, and not necessarily if they make a behind the back pass, just go crazy and just go off and say, oh, that's terrible, because then what happens is a player will be reluctant to try something. And next time it may not be a pass, it may be an open shot. It may be the opportunity to drive. It may be anything that they feel like they want to take a chance on, but then remember, oh, coach got real upset with me because I tried a behind the back pass, and now I don't want to take any chances at all. And now with the player not taking chances, they're very reserved and they're not playing up to their potential. So we have to be real careful about how we express our disappointment in players if they do something we don't want them to do. So if a player throws a behind the back pass and you don't appreciate or approve of that, you may want to say, that's not the perfect time to throw a bounce pass. Just keep it simple. And then they say, oh, okay, well, and then you can kind of move on. But I do think you should work on those just with the coordination. I work with players sometimes on throwing behind the back passes, and just their coordination of not being able to get their hand behind their back with right or left hand in the air and bounce passes. But I will tell you this. If you teach a player how to go behind the back dribble, you got some of the same motion when you're doing behind the back pass. So, I look at that in different ways. I look at, well, if I can get a player to go behind the back pass or behind the back bounce pass, then they may be able to execute a behind the back dribble. So it's just some of those things. I try to relate these things together to help players in other areas versus just trying to be focused on one thing. So, and that could be a whole nother topic for another day, especially when it comes to footwork. So, well, that is it for our show today. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. Part 2 of today's podcast will be released next week. We have a lot more information to share with y'all when it comes to passing and skill development. So, real quick, be sure to follow us on social media on Instagram. Look us up. We're NBN B-Ball. Also on my IGTV page, I have some videos I think that y'all would like. We're also active on Twitter. That Twitter handle is at NBN B-Ball. Also, we have some videos on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on our videos on YouTube. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, I need you to subscribe, and I need you to give us a 5-star rating. Now, if you need anything, you have any questions, you have any thoughts on skill development, be sure to send me an email. You can send me an email. It's coachtj@nbnbball.com. If there's anything in this podcast that you wasn't able to write down, I will have some information on it on my blog. You can go to my website, nbnbball.com, and up at the top you'll see a tab that says Skill Development Playbook. You can click on that and go to the blog, and I will have that information there for you. So, until next week, I appreciate y'all. God bless.